people, especially in and around the Middle East during ancient times. Both rich and poor, urban and rural, those at home, those traveling, ate bread at every meal. And to break bread was the ethos of hospitality. And though we plant and harvest and winnow and bake, the key to understanding God is that God provides bread to the poor, to the hungry widows, to the orphans, and to foreigners or resident aliens. And when we look back at the wilderness experience with manna, everybody received enough and lacked nothing. And when Jesus multiplied the little boy's lunch, God provided an abundance to all who were hungry, with more than enough left over. God's hospitality at its best. And rolled into those experiences are additional significance of bread as connected to the Word of God. As necessary for life as bread and water, our teaching and learning and knowing of God is our bread. And it's our responsibility to accept the meal offered and replicate and multiply through our ministry of the gathered around the table to the hungry multitudes in the world. And we've talked about that everyday sustenance this summer, that God sends bread and love and breath. But like the little boy with the lunch with a few fishes and loaves, what we have is not quite enough from us, but God can multiply it so that our ministry can spread and share with the world. In 1946, Mother Teresa came face to face with the suffering and dying on the streets of Calcutta. And as a nun, she felt, in addition to her call to that sisterhood, to serve the least and the lost, the most ill and poorest of humanity on the streets of Calcutta. And through her service, her calling, her love, and her passion, she began and sustained the missionaries of charity. Beginning with only 13 members, now the order numbers in the thousands, and they're spread around the world with orphanages and charities. In 1976, you may remember this, Millard and Linda Fuller began Habitat for Humanity International when decent housing for the poor had few resources. They had a very small group of volunteers and a few tools. Their passion has fueled and grown to serve thousands who would otherwise have no affordable housing. If you remember the pool party a few weeks back, the incident involving black and white youths in the Dallas suburb of McKinney, a local network of pastors called McKinney Shepherds quickly connected educators, police, and government officials. They organized prayer sessions, meetings around the issue of race relations with attendance from all kinds of persons, including a variety of religions. And this has been a catalyst for justice and reconciliation in that community. One more example. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and we've talked about him before, a contemporary martyr. He was all about Jesus. He was all about Jesus, which got him imprisoned and killed in Nazi Germany. And he died probably assuming that his life was a total failure. He knew that Christ renewed Israel through incarnation, sharing joys and sorrows, facing the passion, being crucified and being raised. And Bonhoeffer allowed his life to follow that of Jesus Christ. What if congregations deliberately shared in Jesus' goal of revealing God's power through every act of ministry? And would congregations construct worship and outreach differently if pointing to Christ's abundance in response to human hungers as our ongoing mission? If pointing to Christ's abundance in response to human hungers as ongoing mission. Ministry is about multiplying our resources so that when we have a social handout, it might be a revelation of amazing grace. We could be prophets of transformative action in the world, bringing hope to those weary of oppressive social systems and values, those caught in places that we don't want to be. God renewed creation 2,000 years ago and still does today, sharing the bread of life and the cup of salvation with enough for all. Miraculously, God continues to come to us like a manna miracle, calling us, feeding us, and saying, I am your bread. I am your bread. Feed on me. And all God's children said,